everybody, good morning, and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied voice Justin, who is a disembodied pair of hands today, and probably will be every day leading up to the Reaper Virtual Expo. So how are you all today? Hold on. Chat, you're buried beneath my Discord. Buried. I saw a resub. I'm going to go scroll up and catch you. D. Clearman, of course, with the 22 months, poning the rest of the crowd. Amazing. Amazing that I've been that interesting for 22 months. Or I guess part of it is Reaper's been that interesting for 22 months, which is not nearly as amazing. All right. Wee, everybody. Hey, John David. Yeah, feathers. Some more feathers. Yeah. Hobgoblins, huh? Yeah, duplicate sculpts are kind of a bummer. Aw, I'm sorry, Karoo. Yeah, Twitch is twitchy. Twitch is very twitchy. Always. Hey, Kaz. Kaz has to like shoot back at D. Clearman with the 22-month sub streak. You guys, some of our earliest supporters. Thank you. We have a Twitch department because of you guys. And the rest of you who keep us firmly in the positive sub rating. Morning, Everlina. Morning, Bob and Julie. Morning, Cool. Morning, everybody. All right. Boom. Boom. We're going to see how everything works today, including my back. Although I had David pummel it last night. He's very good at like hard massage, which normally I'm like, but I really needed it. And I've started a new thing, guys. We'll see how long this lasts. But I have hopes that it'll last, like become a permanent thing. But I've started getting up. I got up early today by about just 20 minutes just to do some exercises. Kind of get everything moving and stretched out so that I could not have as many issues. Hey, Hyper Bunny, 16 months. That is still total respect. Total respect. But yeah, with how my back's been lately, I just felt like, especially with the good results I got from doing exercises before the stream, I'm like, well, let's just get up a little early and do like 20 minutes of yoga and fitness stuff. So here's Sphinxy. Yay, Sphinxy. So let's do, we're going to do some lighter feathers today. We're going to try to finish out, really, the front of this. So I'm going to need my blue... My lovely, lovely cyan blue. Somewhere. It's hiding over here. I should put a dot on the top so I can tell it apart from ultramarine. It tends to want to hide. Where did you go? Are you out of my tabletop? Of course it is. It's like, I'm right in front of you. Oh no, Shadow Raven. Hey, Cookie. How's it going? Like, Cookie Tigress, I just think we need to, like, make a little emoji of a tiger face, but with a big chocolate chip cookie coming out of its mouth. I think that would be the cutest thing. Steals the... Hey, Planer, long time no see. Yo, sexy girl, what's up? We are here. Yes, you need... Yeah, you totally need a big floofy tiger face with a big chocolate chip cookie. That'd be the cute. The cute. I love the cute. I aspire to be cute. Yeah, you know, that's pretty much it, right, Planer? I was just telling everybody I started a new exercise regimen. I'm getting up early, not terribly early, but you know, making sure that I get up 20 minutes earlier than I was, so that I could do some yoga and stretches and strength exercises before the stream, like to start my day, because my back issues have been so bad since my back went out. Yeah, I did, John David. Yep, we've been painting this mini on stream. I have not done any work on her off stream, so if you search for her item number in the Reaper YouTube or for Sphinx, which is her name, you will probably find all of the videos. So, yeah. Hey, Icy Drag. How's it doing? How's it going? I dropped my thingy. Oh, and here, let's give everybody the reference pick. Hold on, reference pick. Because we are going to be adjusting the wings today. A little bit. I want to adjust them for a little more contrast. So our birdie is, of course, the African Harrier Hawk. And he or she is really, really a pretty bird. So what I need to do is I need to bring on more light to the edges of these brown feathers at the outer section of the wing. I also want to bring these up a little lighter, I think, because these are really, there's a lot of contrast here and I'm not playing at it. I need to also introduce some lighter tones kind of speckled in on these feathers up top. I think that's pretty much the three things that need to happen. Because I haven't done any lighter tones on these feathers up top. There are suggestions of where they should go, right? Where the lighter feathers are. But I haven't really brought any of the light up into here. I did do the lighter edges on the outside of these feathers, so I need to do them on these feathers as well. And because they're actually much lighter in the picture, I may actually glaze with even lighter colors to really bring this up a bit and get some nice contrast. We need to do our blue bar here, and as I mentioned, this outer brown section, I started bringing it up a little bit here, so I need to bring it up on this wing. Oh, nice, Tai Chi. I used to do that with a friend. She'd come over twice a week, and we would do it in my little TV room. Awesome. Yeah, Tai Chi is lovely. I even own a Tai Chi sword. It was a present, but it's really pretty. It's the one sword I still own other than my Kendo Shinai. Yeah, that's actually, I took it in college, Shadow Raven, and it was taught by a girl, a TA, who had actually moved over to the USA from China to go to college at UW-Madison, and she actually at the end of class taught us a bit of the sword, and she also taught us the martial, like how the moves that you think are so pretty and flowing are actually martial moves, and how they slightly modify, and how the speed modifies to make them that way. And so that was really, I really liked her. I wished I could have taken more of that class, but they only had Tai Chi 1. But yeah, I may get back into Tai Chi, but right now I've just started doing yoga with David, so I'd like to get really into yoga and learn all of the moves and have the strength to do all of the moves safely, because right now I'm really on easy mode. But nice Philippine sword art, nice. Sweet planer, that's really awesome. But yeah, I'm just sick of being so weak in my core that my back is just having problems all the time. So I am as a miniature painter and computer nerd, it's gone too long, and the body is revolting. So yeah. But yeah, so I'm sorry for my Discord not being silenced. Again, it is burbling at you. It is not you, it's me. Yeah, so I'm sick of having a weak core. I'm sick of having back problems. When I get a new puppy, I want to be able to play with that puppy and get down on the floor and, go out and do things and throw balls and things for the puppy without having to worry about being, putting my back out or being, hurt. So it's gotten to the point where it's driven me to get up early, which is just saying something, right? All right, so first we have to build our colors for this, and then mostly we need the light color, but the light color does have a little bit of our shadow color in it, so we will actually mix our shadow color, which is pretty easy because it's 4 drops of rich leather. Remember, this is my little sticky note that I keep with my model, so I always have my formulas. Usually I only need a few formulas, because as you learn what colors you like, and sorry, my rich leather is getting a little low, so it's starting to clog more. That's something you will notice, by the way. As more air gets into the bottle, as your paint gets lower, it will tend to clog a little bit more. There we go. There we are. All right, so 4 drops of rich leather. Boop. My color of choice. But as I was saying, as you develop in your mini painting journey, it's very, very likely that I jokingly call it getting in a color rut, but it does work for you. If you have kind of combos that you keep coming back to, like for browns or for skin or for whatever, like you have a particular purple that you love and always reach for, stuff like that, it can be a little bit of a crutch, but it can also just be useful if you're trying to remember what you've done. Like if I don't make a note of a color combo that I've done, then I know that it's straightforward, right? If I don't make a note that I've used cyan blue on these wings, I know that cyan is the blue I always reach for as a default, and this looks like cyan blue, so I'm pretty sure at that point that I've used cyan blue. So kind of experimenting with each class of colors and getting your favorites down. And then when you make your sticky note notes, just make a note if you change it up. So if you're working with a new mix, or you're trying a new red, or you're doing something like that. And in that way, I think you can still create something fresh, but you can also, like, you know, you can be very familiar with some of the colors that you're using. I mean, back in the tube paint days, when you look at artist tube paints, there's relatively few colors, right? So establishing mastery with the particular colors and learning how they worked and how they act with each other, that was a little bit easier than when you've got 500 colors. So yeah. And I'm going to mix up my blue. Hello, Gobit. Nice to meet you. I don't think I've seen you in chat before. I'm Anne, if you don't know. If you've been lurking before, then hello anyway. All right, so I'm mixing up because this is a brown mix that I've never used. Once again, it's the dark wing color is 4 drops rich leather, 1 brown liner, 1 russet. And then I'm just using rich leather as a mid-tone, or a mid-tone shadow, I should say. I kind of like switch back and forth between what it is, depending on how light the wing gets. Yo, Twisted. Oh no, an ad, Chibi. Hey, M. Groening. I just noticed your resub 13 months. It's the sub at a month anniversary. Sub +1. Sub-anniversary +1. Yeah, just don't even remind me, John David, okay? Don't even remind me. So, I do not blame you all for seeking out colors that are kind of your go-to standard colors, and then experimenting here and there. Like on every mini, maybe you try something new, some new color combo you haven't tried before. But don't try to mix it up like all across every mini, or you kind of are making it harder for you to learn the characteristics of some of the colors, right? Because you're just like always throwing a different color on there. If you don't work with russet brown a lot, or you don't work with brown liner a lot, you're not going to get a real feel for how it acts when you mix it into other things, or, you know, how much you have to thin it, or how it works then next to these other colors. So, yeah, well, brilliant green plus clear blue, Iffy. You should get really close. I don't keep a notebook, I just keep a sticky note if necessary. And I keep the sticky note attached. Usually I save if it's a Reaper figure cookie, I save the little top of the blister card. And then the sticky note just gets stuck right onto that, or gets stuck onto the back of it. And I just put it on the shelf right under the figure, because I have a shelf that I keep my in-progress figures on. So that way I always have it. If it's a figure like a bust that goes in a box, then I fold the sticky note and I put it in the box. Sometimes I have a couple of sticky notes in a box. It's all kind. I don't find a journal that useful, because with a journal I have to stop and look through it. And for me, that's an impediment. So I'm more likely to try to just wing it. So if I really want my my stuff, and the same thing is true of doing phone pictures, right? Because if you're me, you've got 1,000 phone pictures. How are you gonna go and look back and remember what month you worked on something, you know, and scroll through all those suckers to find it? I don't like anything that makes an impediment, that keeps it from being easy. I want to make this as easy and simple and as fast as possible, because when I feel like painting, what happens if I only have 20 minutes to sit down and paint, right? If I waste 5 minutes or 10 minutes looking for the stuff that I used last time, then I've just wasted, you know, a quarter of my painting time. So that's why I find the sticky note thing to be just like the easiest. Hey, oh, planer. Yay! Thank you for the resub. Oh, it'll last a while. That's like 1,600 drops or 1,500 drops, Iffy. Yeah, but I don't like the notebook, because in any hobby, in any habit, in anything you're trying to, you know, get better in, or really trying to commit to doing regularly, it pays to make it as easy and accessible as possible. Especially if you're trying to get into a painting habit, where you sit down every afternoon or every night or maybe every morning before your day starts and you do a little painting. If you're trying to do that, then it just makes sense to keep your notes what you need, even if you do keep a journal. If you're actively working on a figure, write it down on a little note, a sticky note or whatever, and keep it close to the figure. That way you can have it both places. If you lose your sticky note, then you've got a backup. But at the same time, you also have what you need really close. All right, we need our bleached linen, which is a useful enough color that I always keep it out at this point. And it's bleached linen plus our shadow color. with a dab of rich leather to warm it up. And since I didn't give a ratio here, and this again is something where you develop it, I didn't give a ratio here. What that means is that this is a 4-to-1. Because 4-to-1 is my go-to ratio for mixing these days. So if I don't note it, then I know that I just probably used exactly what I always use. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, well, at least, yeah, as long as you can find it fast, you need to make it, like I said, easy and accessible. The other dangerous thing about putting things on my phone, for me, Kariniko, which is, maybe some other people here might have this problem, is the minute I open that up, I start scrolling through pictures and I stop. I get distracted. I'm like, oh, I forgot I had that picture. Oh my gosh, I need to Facebook this instant, or whatever, or Instagram, or whatever. And so I find my phone very distracting. I'm trying to actually use it less. So for me, I definitely feel like notes work better for me, but a lot of people are very, very, integrated with their phones. And so it's natural for you to flip it open, in which case the phone journal may work well for you. But again, bottom line is, it needs to be easy, accessible, and not distract you from your purpose. That's how you get painting done. The more time you have to actually actively paint, and the less time you have committed to setting up, the more you're going to get done, the more you're going to learn. All right, so I pretty much just put a brush full of that rich leather into there. So these are my 3 colors. I have really a triad. These wings are painted entirely with a triad, except for the black on some of these feathers and the blue. So it's rich leather, 4 drops of rich leather with 1 brown liner and 1 russet brown, and then it's 4 drops of bleached linen with a brush full of the rich leather just to warm it up to a nice cream color, and then we put in just a dab, tiny bit, to kind of darken it. We don't want it quite as warm. I wanted it a little grayed out because that was the way the color was on the falcon, or on the hawk rather. Yeah, setup often defeats you. So what that tells me, Cookie, is even if you don't have, here's a tip that I used so long at Reaper, because often I would have to like clear off my my desk to just do computer work or writing or whatever, or email or what have you. And so for me, I just kept I had a bunch of black plastic lunch trays. I still have them, actually. Poor people won't have them at Reaper anymore, but they were mine, darn it. So I brought them with me here. But the black plastic lunch tray is great because that lets you kind of, all you have to do is make a space on a shelf where you can have enough room to set it down, right? And then you just keep your painting set up on there. Keep your palette, keep your water jar, keep your brushes that you're using, maybe even keep your current project. Keep your, if you have a piece of paper like I do set down to catch drips, then put that on there. Get out your paint bottles that you're using currently, keep that on there. And that way you can just grab, all you have to do is clear space on a table, grab your lunch tray and set it down and you're set. You fill up your water jar and go. If you don't have a dedicated painting space, which I know lots of people don't, that's the answer for me. That's worked for me in the past. I just use a shelf in my closet. Like I just clear off just enough space for that lunch tray and just keep everything on there. Of course, now I have a dedicated painting desk, but yeah, Crowley, exactly. And it works, right? It's because again, you're just working on strategies to make it so that when you feel like painting, you can not think about it. You can just sit down and do it. And that's really the best way. If you feel like many of us do, like with all of our lives, right? We think, oh, I want to do this. And then we get distracted, or we're like, oh, but I don't have a place, or it'd take time to set up. And then we just don't do it, right? And so then we kind of let like our passions kind of fizzle a bit because we don't act on them when we think about it, right? When we have some excitement for it, we just don't. It's too much trouble. So we go and do something else instead. We clean the sink. We do the dishes. We start dinner. Whatever. And so recognizing that that's keeping you from doing what you love, and then enacting a strategy to make it easier for yourself to actually do the things you love. That's really the key there. But Cookie Tigress, reading glasses or a magnifier. Move to, if you have a magnifier that's different, consider, if you wear glasses, consider an optimizer. If you don't wear glasses, consider just switching to reading glasses. Much easier than setting up clamping a magnifier to the table. And I don't know, magnifiers always threw me off, but if you love them, then maybe find a way to just kind of keep it on the tray and then make it set so that it just slides right onto the table and you can just clamp it down. See, just the whole point of if you really want to paint, if you really want to make more time for painting, really the point is when a thing like that jumps up and says, oh, but then I have to do this, then immediately pounce on that. Pounce on that like the cookie tigress you are and say, no, I can make this easy. And then figure out how to make it easy. Figure out how to make it, okay, my magnifier's right here, and I've already got the clamp set, so I just need to slide it in here, and now it's ready. Boom, done. And it was, 10 seconds. You can waste 10 seconds. But yeah, it's all about, I mean, it's the same thing with like learning, getting in the habit of like, for me, exercising regularly or walking regularly or whatever. I had to figure out how to keep myself from undermining. And it's rough, right? It's hard. Like we'd all rather not have to work at this stuff. All right, let's put a little bit of lining and shading in between these wings. Sorry for the life coach moment there. Life coaching and painting with Anne. That's what this stream is really all about. If you haven't figured that out, then I'm sorry. Not really. Not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. We could all use some life coaching about how to spend more time with our passions, okay? That is my firm belief. I believe it. I'm not backing down. Because we don't spend enough time with our passions. Do I need to write? I do need to write the Zen and the Art of Mini Painting book. That's also a painting life coach book. Is that really, like, as we continue to talk about my mini painting book, guys, this is really starting to be a real crossover genre book here. It can be shelved under self-help and hobbying. Yeah, reading glasses so much easier to use than a magnifier. Yeah, and you can get them up to +5 if you look. And I mean, that's what David's Optimizer is. Like I said, you can also combine the two, which when I really need to see the tiny details on, say a sculpt that's got some mucky detail where I'm having trouble seeing what it is, putting on these and then putting on that lets me see like down. I could see the sculpt, all of it. I could see all the imperfections. So yeah. Now, John David, I'm not going to let that one pass. Keep it clean here. This is a family stream. Yes, unless your passion is illegal. Yes, I'm gonna just like deny that. Let's just say that. Yeah, the Optimizer also allows you to move around and not stiffen as much. Reading glasses. That's a great point, Julie. Assuming that was Julie. I always assume it's Julie typing, so if it's ever Bob, you have to like tell me. But yeah, so we're gonna use a little bit of. I did a wash here earlier, and you can kind of see how it got into this kind of a glaze wash, I guess. It was enough of a wash that it did outline some of the little, striations on the wing, but I only put it toward the center because I knew I wanted the outer edges to stay light. However, I do want a little bit of a shadow where the wing overlaps. I've been looking at a crap ton of birds outside lately. We have beautiful crows here. They're just like so glossy and shiny black. And lately there've also been robins. There've been the robins kind of were here for a very short period of time and seem to have evaporated, which I'm sure most birds are migratory. But then there's these cute little, we have so many cute little chickadees and like little finches here. I really enjoy birds. I'm not a bird watcher. I don't like whip out my bird watching glasses. I do wish I could take pictures of them better. I wish my phone camera was better able to zoom in. But yeah, I've been looking at a lot of birds because I like to make sure that what I'm doing is kind of making it look natural, right? Because you all know I'm big into like naturalism in miniature painting. I like a stylistic paint job as much as the next girl, but I myself like to reach for naturalism in my painting because I like how the style looks. So for me, looking at how bird feathers actually look, hold on, let me tighten up here. There we go. Now we won't get wobble. Is a big part of painting something like this. Like, painting the Sphinx is helping me with my overall, like, feathers. Like, as far as understanding feathers and understanding how they look. Hello, Scrying Eye. Yeah, Optimizer is a lifesaver if you already have glasses. Yeah, those are the things that I would recommend for magnification. When I was a wee little Anne, I did try using a magnifying glass, and I got frustrated because I had good near vision at that point. So I was wanting to paint like this, but I wanted to see the model better. But the glass got really between me and the paint job. So it wasn't as optimal. And as was pointed out, it doesn't let you move and shift and vary your posture, right? And that's important, as we've all been discovering with me and my back issues. That's really important for being able to continue painting for longer periods of time. So yeah. All right, so now we've got a pretty well-detailed stuff. I'm going to start lightening all the feathers I lightened over here, really getting these wings to be in parity with each other. Yeah. David's nearsighted. He takes his glasses off to paint, which is always the funny between us. All right, so let's see how strong I am, because I need to see how strong my light paint is, because when you've got to paint with a lot of white in it, it's really, really strong. It may look like you've thinned it, and you may have thinned it as much as you thinned the rich leather here, which I did. But because of all that white, it's gonna cover a lot better. And because it covers better, notice how here I've gotten kind of a fade in, like where every time I do a little quill, it kind of fades into the stronger dot on the outside of the feather. And that's paint consistency. That's not necessarily me like painting a special way or doing more than one layer. It's having paint that's a little bit transparent. I bet if I use this paint, it's going to be way too strong. It's just going to give me a flat line instead of a fade. Yeah, see, that's really, really strong, and that's just going to give me a line. You see that? So I don't want that. I want a bit more of a fade, and that means I need to thin my paint a little bit more. So I'm going to just put one drop in and see how that impacts it. I know that bleached linen doesn't have the high white load of, say, a pure white, so I might not have to thin it as much to get a good fading effect. Right, exactly. Thanks, Scrying Eye. Right, exactly. And you want to do that, right, Chibi? You want to be able to refocus on things farther away so that your eyes get exercised, right? So you don't get eye strain. So you don't get headaches. You know, some people get this. I'm not as vulnerable to them. Probably, I've always thought that it's because I use a crap ton of light. Like I have zillions of watts of light here lighting up my whole area. And that's not even counting the natural bounce sunlight from outdoors. So yeah, so you also want to remember to look away from your model every once in a while and refocus when you're using magnifying devices. It's really important to get your eyes exercised and to make sure that you keep your vision as well as you can, you know, as well as you're gonna, barring genetics. We all know that our eye warranties, you know, die at different ages, but do what you can to keep your eyes exercised and not always focused on tiny little things, much as we would love to always focus on tiny little things. Oh yeah. Well, as long as the Optimizer, the only problem, I use the Optimizer for things when I really have to paint a tiny detail. But I do find that it's a little bit too much for everyday painting, Chibi. So it depends on it depends on your vision normally, I guess. All right, so now I'm trying to judge, guys, real quick, if this is a good enough fade. And yeah, it looks like those wings over there, it's not really, I could probably thin just a tiny bit more. Just one more drop. It's still a little bit too liney for me. Like, I like to see more of a blend when I do these. Yeah, no, sadly they don't call. That's the problem, Scrying Eye. One day you can paint minis up by your nose, and the next day you're like, why do I have to go out here to paint a mini? Oh, I guess I need reading glasses now. You're just used to it now. Yeah, exactly. You are all good. What I find is that the Optimizer is too much. Like, it'll actually get me so close that I'm trying to paint details that anybody just looking at the model isn't gonna see. And those are the last details I want to focus on. So do question that if you're using extreme magnification, where you can see every little, you know, like little flaw in the sculpt, like where feathers are connecting to each other or whatever. Like when you get to that point, and you hit a detail, like stop, remove your magnification, and ask yourself if the person who's looking at your mini in real life is even going to notice that. Because you don't want to spend a lot of time on stuff that people can't even see. Like, I could paint irises, colored irises, at 28mm with the Optivisor and my reading glasses. I'm pretty sure I could hit that color. But whether it would translate when somebody's just holding the mini normally, I did it once and I was like, no, I can't even see this in real life. So then it's wasted effort for me. Like, it was maybe not wasted effort for my brush control, but it was definitely, you know, not worth spending the, half an hour I spent tweaking those eyes. So, hey Ash, how's it going? Yes, yeah, exactly, War Shadow. If you use pure white in this mix, you'd want to thin it even more. To get it to, if you wanted it to go kind of blendy. If you wanted it to go where your brushstroke started translucent and then got opaque toward the outside edge, because pure white has so much more white pigment in it. A lot of off-whites have a significant load of white, but they don't have, like, we push pure white to the ceiling. It is a very heavily pigmented white. So that's why you have to thin it to, like, I think I have to thin it to, it was 2.5 to 1 water to paint to get it to, like, layer smoothly. And even more to glaze. Like, you almost have to use a glazing medium or a drop a brush on sealer if you're going to glaze with our pure white. Because it's just, you're thinning it at that point like 3 or 4 to 1 water to paint. And it's insane. So you need something to keep it in solution at that point, because white pigment is very heavy, and eventually, much as our white can be thinned to a ridiculous amount, eventually even our white will break and start to separate. There just comes a point you just can't push the paint resins beyond, no matter how good your paint is. And again, yeah, this is good. I like this. So I know I've got the right consistency when I can start a brush stroke, but then it's kind of like see-through, and then when I pick it up toward the edge, it's much more opaque. And that's what gives me kind of a blended effect. And again, I'm not trying to hit every little quill here. Like, I might try to hit some as they get wider. Like, they're much easier to hit every little quill on the outside edge here because they're a little bit further spaced apart. But don't get crazy, you know, about it. Oh, wow. Garnico. Well, you know, that's fine. It's good that they're looking for the details. As long as they understand that if it's a gaming mini, you didn't spend, like, loads and loads of time on it. But that argues that you should spend some time doing, like, a really fantastic model so that when they hold it up, they're, like, blown away. So another thing that I know my paint is at the right consistency is I'm having to do more than one brush stroke to get my color down. And that's actually what I want, because I actually do a long brush stroke to start with, and then I start shortening it. And that's going to give me a quick layer effect on this stuff. But it's much more subtle, and it's not even as bright as this one. That'll happen. Like, when you've got two things that you're painting, you will, as you do this one, you'll learn, and then when you get to this one, you'll be doing much more subtle or finer or better work, and it'll frustrate the heck out of you because you're like, one wing is better than the other. But in reality, you just want them close. You don't need to be perfect. Nobody needs to be perfect. Perfection's all in our head. Oh, who's the freezy? Who's got freezing? I didn't see that, Shadow. Okay, Ash. Yeah, yes, if you have frozen paint, which is all too common after our latest deep freeze, you will have what I call a cottage cheese consistency. So it's like kind of a chunky and grainy thing that goes on, and it won't go in solution. And there's nothing you can do except ask for a replacement. But apparently yesterday it was like 70 in Texas, so you should be good for shipping from Reaper at this point. Yeah, Reaper's really good about handling. We understand that stuff happens. We can't guarantee that it's not going to be left on a UPS truck overnight. So yeah. Yeah, Cornico, if they love to be, everybody's a critic, right? Everybody's a critic and they don't want to put themselves out there. Yep. Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah, I saw Rhonda had put up a post. I haven't had time to check it, but that's good that she put that up. Yeah, Ash, just try to thin it. If it's grainy and chunky and it doesn't want to thin to a smooth consistency, it's frozen. You will notice right away. Like right away. Well, Ash, yeah, I mean, best, first of all, if you ordered any metallics with that, check them first. They're the ones that tend to be most affected. Wet sand. Yeah, kinda. I always thought, I don't know, first thing that entered my head when I encountered it was cottage cheese, so that's just the term I use. Hey, Jabberwock, good morning. Welcome for the resub. 9 months. Oh. Yeah, hiking. That'd be interesting with eye modifications. Bifocals bug me. Like, I do have a pair of prescription reading glasses just for my close-up vision, because my regular vision's actually very good. But I find them, like, really frustrating, the bifocal thing. Probably just because I'm not used to it. I'm not used to adjusting for it. I'm not used to directing my gaze that way. So I end up not using them and just using regular reading glasses and taking the reading glasses off when I don't need them. Alright, so bringing in, and again, if I can hit the little quills, I will, but otherwise, I just want to lighten the outer edge. Just use a brush stroke as if you're painting the quills. Don't worry about hitting them or not. It's close enough. It'll look right. You can see how I'm definitely getting that fade, though, there, where it just fades in. There's just, like, you can't see the quills come in, they fade in, and that's because I've got my paint dialed into layering consistency. So then if I want to bring out a couple of quills more strongly, I can go back and do another layer. Add in a few lines, and especially emphasize the outer edge, and then I've got it. So you maybe want to do one pass like this, and then go back in. Yeah, you've certainly been watching me do them enough, right? We have spent a lot of time on these wings, but that's the thing I always say, like, this is the long and hard part of painting wings, right? This is painting good wings, whereas when we did Spirit Beast, it was, okay, quick and dirty, getting decent looking wings in 3, 2, 1, go. Whereas the Sphinx, I always said I was going to show you guys how to do it, like, really well to make them look really good. And we haven't even addressed, like, lighting. Like, technically, I should be using some glazes when I put it on to imply darkness and light and stuff. Since I didn't start that way, since I started pretty flat with just the patterns. If I'm going to suggest strong lighting on the Sphinx. Which I've already started kind of to do. So I may need to do some lighting adjustment. And I'm going to point out that this is a very different way of painting from some painters who will block in their light first and only worry about patterns after that. Everybody's got a different way of painting. So this is very illustrative. But if I was trying to do a really strong lighting effect on the Sphinx, like consistently strong, I would regret what I've done here. Because now I need to go and darken everything. Because if she was actually in the light, you know, then some parts of her wings are going to be darker, and some parts, if the light is coming from up top, right? Some parts of her wings are going to be different. And so, Sphinx. I still haven't glued her down, just in case. But, so, you know, that's the downside of doing it this way. This gives you a beautiful illustrative effect, but it's not going to give you strong lighting. It's not going to give you that. You would have to tweak it afterwards. And there are people like David, my boyfriend, who he would always start with the light, and then he'd come in with the patterns. He'd worry about the patterns last. And I tend to do it the other way because I started with the same background that a lot of us have coming into mini painting in America, which is gaming, where we're not concerned about light. All we care about is getting the colors on and then picking out the details. But that means, you know, that if you do want to tackle lighting, that means that it's kind of an afterthought for us, which makes it harder for some of us to learn it. So if you study with a European painter, mini painter, you're going to get probably the opposite. You're going to get a emphasis on light, and detail and texture are the last things you do. And so it's the opposite. It flips it on its head. So you don't get as much of an illustrative effect, but you get a much better natural lighting or extreme lighting effect. So these are like flip sides of the same coin, and you can go like kind of midway in between them. But how you usually will start a model one way or the other. You usually start either with lighting or with color and detail. Like it's a way of thinking about it. Yeah, everybody is tired of winter at this point. Me too. Well, at least it's almost March. Like, I keep just telling myself, it's okay, Anne. It's almost March. Once again, not trying to hit all the quills, just trying to hit in the rough direction, the right rough direction. You can always come back in. And even if I do like kind of a blob where I get kind of a solid block of white there, it's not a deal breaker because you can grab some of your rich leather and kind of bring that back in over the top, blend it in. And that's why I keep all of these all open, right? I keep, even though I haven't hardly touched this since the beginning of the stream, if I need it, if I accidentally paint over a dark, I've got it here. Yeah, we're all tired of winter, for sure. It's almost stretching time. Should I stretch early? Nah, I can do 4 minutes. 4 minutes and then we'll stretch. So let's try to get some of these other feathers done now that I'm done kind of explaining a lot of it. Yeah, starting your garden last week. Not gonna happen. They have a community garden here in Mountain View, which intrigued me when I first moved here. I don't know if they have any open lots. I didn't like try to sign up because I was like, how much time really, Anne, do you have to like tend a garden? But they have these, essentially they have raised beds and you can, I think you can rent one, or you can, you can sign up and essentially rent a raised bed and then plant it however you like. And there are people doing tomatoes and peppers, and there are people who are doing herbs, and it just looks like fun. And some people are just doing flowers so they can have fresh cut flowers. But it looks pretty cool. It's not far from here. It's on the other side of the park from where I am. Sorry, I finished. I noticed I did not get that outer feather just when I got to this one. But yeah, I don't know how much time I'll have to garden. It's as it is, I've made time for my orchids, which are still alive, guys. My orchids that David got me last year are still alive. And usually I have a black thumb, so this is something. I was rather shocked. I even repotted one over a week ago now, and it's still alive and seems to be sending out a new leaf, so I have hopes. And the other one is reflowering. So apparently our orchids are pretty happy. But yeah, for me this is like shocking because I kill plants. I kill plants without effort. But the orchids like me. So it makes me happy because I really love them. Hopefully I can get the other one to reflower too. Although apparently that's the harder part. And David got me flowers for Valentine's Day. He did not give me another orchid because I haven't killed the ones he got me before. So, ooh, Suro, you moving to San Diego? Yeah, nice. Expensive, but nice. I mean, I also did the transplant. I mean, by way of Texas, but I'm also a Midwesterner as far as growing up. And San Diego is supposed to have even better weather than up here. So if you want to sit and do the little quills, you can, but don't sweat it, really, for your first pass. It is up to you entirely how much time you want to take. If you want to be really painstaking and hit most of these quills precisely, you really can. But it'll help train some of your fine brush control. So if you're doing this and you don't have a lot of fine brush control, just try here and there to hit a particular little quill here, a little bit of the quill. And just try. And if you don't do it, don't beat yourself up. Just move on. Try again. Because taking on little stuff like this is how you get the crazy brush control I've got. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the problem when the weather shifts. Poor lettuces. Well, I mean, if he's a longtime gardener, he'll understand that you just can't. Things happen. It's too bad. He'll have to restart them. He got overly optimistic, but of course, me being an eternal optimist, it's I'm all about getting overly optimistic. So, alrighty, we are continuing on our winglet. I should go and do a quick divergence and do the outer winglet here. Interesting. Amazonian moonflower orchid. No. Wow. Neat. I did not see it, Cornico. I am not yet into the orchid subculture enough to have known about that. Although I just love like tropical flowers and subtropical. David's the current bouquet that he got me for Valentine's Day, which is now almost done. We have to toss it probably today or tomorrow. But it had lilies in it. I love lilies too. There are some lilies growing around here, which makes me happy. And birds of paradise. I love birds of paradise flowers. And there's one that's just coming into flower on my walk every day. So I'm super happy about it. I need to paint a mini in those colors, like as a bird of paradise. I wonder, you probably could do a wing. You could do some sort of magical feathered creature with bird of paradise colors. They're just such beautiful flowers. Yeah. Which trees to save? Yeah, when I had bonsai, it was kind of like that too, Redlings. I was just kind of like crossing my fingers and praying that my bonsai would make it through. Speaking of which, pretty soon it's time to go and find myself a Japanese maple. David has one of our deck plants died, so I asked him if we could acquire. I'll get back in. I'll stick my toe in the water with a new bonsai tree. Since all my ones in Texas just kind of kicked the bucket before I left. I still have my tools, but I left my pots because they're just so heavy. I asked Zach to give them to his nieces. But I always was trying to make red maples work, and pretty much the bonsai guy in Texas was just like, or in Dallas was just like, yeah, maples, no, not in our heat. Anne's Patreon planer. I guess I should mention my Patreon. Yeah, hey guys, I've got a Patreon, for those of you who don't know. It is my love. I adore my Patreon. I just put up a new PDF on the Dungeon Dwellers paints. A lot of which we used on Rock Troll. Like Eldritch Purple and Succubus Kiss and Vampiric Mist. In fact, there's a picture of Rock Troll in that PDF. But it is patreon.com/paintingbig, which is my moniker, my rebrand for when I'm not reapering. Hey, phone, you were supposed to go off. I wonder if I turned off my stretch alarm, but it's stretch time, guys. There we go. Yep, Kariniko. 10:20. Yeah, my phone must have turned off its stretch alarm. Or maybe I accidentally switched it off because it was, let me see here. Let me just check it real quick. We definitely, yeah, for some reason it went off. I might have hit it when I was turning off my nap alarm. But now it's back on. So, all right, everybody, get up and stretch. Stretch, stretch, stretch. If you've been sitting around doing nothing, it's time to stretch. Even if it's only been half an hour, stretch, stretch, stretch. Except it's not really the 7th inning because it's not 11. Stretch, 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 stretch. Stretch, 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 everybody. I'm going to go and do some cat-cows. Oh, cold 60s. You look forward to being so spoiled. Yeah, you do get kind of that guilty feeling, though, Suro. Speaking as somebody, whose family was going through, like, ice storm and blizzard land, and as I was reveling in the 60-degree temperatures, I get mild guilt But I grew up with such crappy weather in Wisconsin that it's only mild guilt. So wherever you are, do some stretches. They really help. I do cat cows. And then I do a child stretch. Child stretch to stretch out my hips and relax my back. And then, kind of a lean back bend stretch to kind of flex my spine the other way. Oh, stand up and stretch, Nomad Zeke. You can stretch while you're on your conference call. So stretch, little bend. I like to do my kind of bend back stretch where you go kind of just bend back gently, firm up your abs, let your neck kind of fall back a little bit, and then kind of hold it. And this is really helping me lately, because, you know, we all like lean forward, hunched over our phones, right? So this kind of reverses that, and it makes your neck kind of strengthen the other way. I'm really trying to fix kind of neck and shoulder dysfunction in myself, so doing it that way really helps kind of reset. And if you get a lot of neck and shoulder tension, oh, Reaper John with the resub, look at that, 18. We're doing our stretches, John. Are you joining us? You used to be a dancer. You totally understand the point of stretching, the importance of stretching, I should say. Or do you still dance? Is used to be the wrong term? John has some serious moves, guys, just so y'all know. Yep. So anyway, if you want to really reset stuff, if you have a lot of tension in your neck and shoulders, do the mild back bend and then actually tense your butt muscles. Like tense your glutes, like do kind of some butt squeezes. It's weird and your friends will stare at you if you do it in public, but it really helps kind of engage these muscles, especially after sitting for a while. And it's not unusual to suddenly feel a little bit of ache in your lower back, and that's because your muscles are unlocking, because they've been locked up. All right. Back to full force work. Good. All right, so that was good stretches. Oh, wait, what's our other step? Last step, hydrate. Everybody take a drink. Every drink. I don't care what you're drinking. No judgment. Depending on how your day is gone and what time of the day or night it is for you. But seriously, hydrate, folks. And now we can rejoin the painting part of the Anne, life coaching and self-help channel. I'm so amused. But seriously, the weird thing is that if I do write a painting book, all this stuff will be in there, like all the stuff about self-care and taking steps to set up your painting area and making it easy and accessible. And, stretching regularly, stretching before you even sit down, I am learning, is so important. Like, we always think about stretching before we do heavy physical activity, and we forget that sitting like this can be heavy physical activity. It's hard for me, too, because, like, I almost have to bend, right? That's part of the reason that doing the streams is hard on me sometimes. is that I've got to get under the camera here, right? So almost inadvertently, I bend. Yeah, I think more art books should really cover that stuff, Chibi. Especially if you can blend it in with regular lessons. Like, I find that my issues aren't due to any particular chair I use, so much as the posture I have in said chair. So I wonder, it kind of makes me wonder how much, like, expensive chairs really are worth it. Like, would it be more worth it if we all had cheap, decent chairs and just sat better? You know, you just start wondering when you're, like, trying to troubleshoot your back issues. You're just like, wait a minute. How can I really reset this? So now my paint's getting a little thicker, right? Because we've mixed it up near the beginning. Yeah, I have a yoga ball. I was just talking to David about where we could put it. I haven't blown it up. I brought it out here with me, planer. But we have such a small apartment, and we try to keep it, like, really open. Like, we try not to have clutter anywhere except in our hobby room. And even here, we try to keep it, like, really nice. Like, one of the things that really always, like, made me just flip, like, really wasn't good for my mental health in my old place, was that it was just cluttered. Like, there was all this stuff everywhere on the floor. You couldn't vacuum or sweep it without sweeping around it. That just kills my mental state. Like, I've learned that about myself. So we try to keep everything, we try to keep a minimum of clutter. So I need to figure out a place I can put the ball away that isn't going to be in the middle of somewhere or make it like an eyesore or an obstruction. I need to find a place to neatly tuck it away. Otherwise, I have a purple one from Black Mountain. I really like it. I haven't been working with it, obviously, since I haven't blown it up. All right, so we added another drop of water to my light paint here because when you see it start making heavy lines when you're doing stuff, and now part of it is that I'm putting it over a darker color here, so it is going to look a little heavier. It's just contrast at that point. But also when you've been painting for half an hour, if you haven't added water to your paint, even in these little wells, at least half an hour is about right for these little wells. Half an hour to 45 minutes in, depending on the humidity and the temperature in the room, you're going to notice a little bit of dry. See, let's see if I can show you guys. Let's see if I can tilt it. See that? See how you can kind of see that where it's kind of drying? You can see this little bubble here where it's still fluid, but it doesn't, it's more sticky and drying up here. That's when you want to add water. When you see the edge, when the edge of your paint is no longer creeping up the side of the well, but see that dry line right there? Yeah, that's when you add a brush full of water and remix it. It doesn't need to be a huge drop of water. It just says that, hey, your paint has been sitting long enough to develop a kind of a drying ring, and that means that it's thickened a bit. So that's a visual cue you can use. And I mean, I'm not putting a lot of water. You can see my brush is full of water, but it doesn't have a huge drop hanging off of it or anything. A lot of your paint, especially if your paint is thinner, it doesn't need a lot. It just needs a little touch. Oh no, I blorfed. That's all right. That's such a little bit. It's not going to make a big difference. And if it does, I'll just make a new puddle. No, I don't, Suru. I don't. I just deal. Like, I've painted in so many climates and so many different conventions and situations that, honestly, I just use that visual cue. Like, I look and I see if my paint is fluid and it's kind of like, it's in a kind of a scoop shape, then awesome. But if this outer edge is starting to dry and get tacky, I can always see it. And the minute I dip my brush in it, I know, because instead of just dipping into the liquid, you'll kind of indent the surface of the paint because it's been sitting for a while. You see it kind of dimple when you put the brush in. You know it's too thick then. So really, I just rely on my senses to tell me when my paint is just a little bit too dry, and I just add water. And I think that that's the best thing to do, because if you develop that sort of habit, that's going to hold you in good stead no matter where you're painting. Doesn't matter at that point if you're painting in high desert or you're painting in Florida or you're painting anywhere else. It'll give you the means to adapt, right? So watch your paint, experiment with your paint, like learning paint consistency, and that's part of learning paint consistency, right? Is learning the different fluid consistencies that give you different results. And becoming conscious of how your paint looks and feels on the palette is step one of that. And even as a rank beginner, you can start building that awareness. just kind of notice, right? Like mix up your paint. When you first mix up your paint, notice how thick it is or how goopy it is, or is it more thinner and watery, and experiment. Watch my thinning Msp Paint video, which is a freebie over on the Reaper YouTube. It's a class I did at ReaperCon. Watch that to kind of give you an idea of how much to thin your paint out the gate. Oops, got a little bit blorf there. That's all right, though. We can take some water and rub it right out. And then once you got those ratios to thin your paint with out of the gate, then notice, right? Maybe mix up some paint, work with it for a while, look at the clock when you start, and about half an hour in, maybe 40 minutes in, look at the paint again if you haven't really been working with it much, or even if you have. See how it looks around the outer edge. See how it's acting. Like, are your brush strokes getting stronger? That sort of thing. And that's observing that stuff, learning to look for that stuff is the first step in becoming really good at paint consistency. And getting that awareness of that really helps your painting, I think, almost more than anything else. I mean, brush control is great and all, but you'll naturally build that. Learning paint consistency, you can do it a lot faster if you do it consciously. If you consciously make an effort. Yo, raccoon people. There we go. Got a little bit. Now my paint is a little bit thinner, so I can make it blend a little bit easier. If I feel like... I'm going to compare these. I felt like I was getting a little strong, but actually I think I'm about the same. Maybe this is just a little bit stronger. So, but I'm kind of happy with those wings. They're looking pretty good right now. Yeah, pretty consistent. Excellent. So now we'll move on. We'll just finish out this area. Oh, good. Good. Excellent, Suru. I am very glad that you are getting value out of the Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting me. I do love the Patreon. Been trying to come up with an idea for a special offer to attract more people to the Patreon, but I'm kind of like, I'm not sure what to do. A lot of people do physical stuff like pins and stuff, but I'm not so sure. I don't think that mini painters are probably like wanting all that. And that's also an extra expense to ship out. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of digital content I could do that would be a special offer type of thing. And all existing patrons get access to special offer stuff too. That's the nice part if you're already a patron. But I don't know. I need to like put some mental energy into it. I've been trying to like think of stuff and I'm just not getting it. Hey Gant, how's it going? Hello, I went splat. That was actually almost my name of my first ever MMO character. When I first tried MMOs, one of my friends was totally into EverQuest and she was trying to get me into it, and so she like let me create a cat person character, but the cat people lived in like the trees and they did not have the whole you can't fall off your home place kind of rule in MMOs at that time, so I constantly was falling off of the walkways. So I essentially made a new character and named her Goes Splat. Needless to say, I did not get into EverQuest. Yeah, the problem there is that it just takes advanced planning, right, Estergene? I guess you could take a... It's better if you do a video while you're in progress, right? Like, if you're going to do that. I guess I could go back and kind of talk about it on a miniature I already did, and then demo how I did it on something else. But it's rough, right? It's hard to... It's interesting. Well, and you have to also pick the right thing. What people will be interested in. I was just going to pick a miniature that I was going to go to town on, and I have been taking some work in progress shots of my like my Sky Earth NMM that I was working on. Ah, blorf, blorf. Oh, some old stuff. I don't own a lot of it. Like, I really had been out of mini painting for quite a long time, like, as far as a competitive level, Estro. While I was working for Reaper, I didn't have a lot of extra energy to paint. And so I haven't, like, it took me, I think I got back into painting, like, really got back into painting, like, at a higher level, when I was working on that Soldier 76 statue for ReaperCon 3 years ago? 2 years. 2 years ago, because David and I weren't dating yet, but we started dating, after that fall, the next year, the following year. So yeah, I guess it was 2.5 years ago. But previous to that, I had a huge slump because I was really burned out and I was out of energy, and I was, I was going through a divorce, and I was, totally revamping my entire life and having to deal with, finding a place to live and just all of the emotional stress that happens. And then even prior to that, I just wasn't in a happy place, right? Obviously, since I ended up getting a divorce. And there was a lot of stress from various directions. So I didn't have any creative energy left to do much painting. So it was like 2.5 years ago where I was finally starting to get out of the dark, and get into a healthier place. And then I started getting motivated to up my game in the painting again. And, because I am a go big or go home type of girl, I decided to do it on a 12-inch statue. You picked up the name from FPS, yeah. Figured it was gaming. So we're just getting some of these edges. If I go a little bit far, I'm not really going to be concerned about it. If I have to adjust it, I always can. But right now I just want lighter edges. Lighter edges like our reference photo. And since the reference photo actually goes really, really light, really, really light in these areas, if I go very light in those areas, I'm going to be okay with that. So if I make these feathers lighter, accidentally, quote unquote, it's not a downside for me. I'm actually okay with that. I want them to be light. I want these 2 layers to be light. But yeah, that's why I feel like, I can speak to people who are burned out or having trouble, like, motivating their creativity, because sometimes you are just not in a good mental space for it. And sadly, the only answer there then is to take steps to get yourself into a better mental space, which is sometimes easier and sometimes much harder. Sometimes involves serious life change. And it's hard to find the energy for that too, right? So, yeah, at this point, like, anything before that either belongs to Reaper, and I don't know that I have pictures of a lot of it, or I sold it. Like, either I sold it or in my old days, I sold everything I did. I only kept like one model, my first Golden Demon winner, which by today's standards is not nearly as good as the stuff that anybody's doing now in that echelon. But I am working on my new competition piece. I am working on the Templar. So perhaps the answer there is to do kind of a feature on that. Because I do feel that my new stuff is very much better than my old stuff. Because I'm trying to improve, right? Once you start trying to get better, inevitably You will. Let's see. Come here, you. Come here, Templar. Oh, no, your head came off. That happens a lot. Don't you hate it when your head comes off, everybody? There she is. So we started on my stream, guys, this Thursday. My own personal stream. We did some more on the lion face, and we also started blocking in some of this. And guys, one thing I forgot, by the way, for those of you who were watching the stream, I was putting a shadow there, and I wasn't sure why. Well, it's because her hair comes down there. So I was right about my shadow. I just have to adjust my placement. But yeah, so we're starting to work, and I was refining more on this Sky Earth on the lion. And starting up on here, and starting to block in, although this is going to get a lot rougher and a lot different. We're starting to block in down there too. It's a very long process because I'm not a natural at Sky Earth. I don't know if anybody is. Well, probably somebody is. Somebody gets it. Nope. Back when I went freelance for the first time, Estro, I had to sell my stuff to survive. So I kept nothing. I sold everything. And if you run into painters like me who do it for a living or did it for a living, you're going to find that. You're going to find that anything that was sellable was sold, because when you have to pay rent off of what you're doing, you get very unsentimental about your models. Now, since I started painting for the love of it again, like with Soldier, I definitely kept Soldier. Nobody gets Soldier, ever. Maybe Blizzard. Maybe Jeff Kaplan from Blizzard. If he ever saw Soldier and wanted to buy Soldier, maybe I would sell him to Jeff, but that's like the one person on the planet who could buy Soldier off of me. But yeah, like now, because Patreon enables me to pay the bills without having to sell all of my work, I'm able to be more selective, right, on what I keep. Hello, Art of Mike Disney. Speaking of somebody who, you know, also is a streamer, and I don't know, do you have a Patreon, Mike? Or do you just do streaming? I was just talking about how when you do it for a living, you sell everything, because when you have to pay the rent, you get very unsentimental about what you're gonna keep. I'm okay. I'm okay. I started a new fitness routine this morning. Trying to do some yoga stretches and strengthening exercises before my streams because of my back, my recent back issues, which are really just a continuation of a lot of old back issues that have finally caught up to me. They showed up finally with a club and said, "No, seriously, you're gonna listen." It seems I have faith. It'll help. I mean, it's because my core is like shot, right? So back issues are always because your core is just gone to blazes. And it's not just your back, but also your guts, your stomach. So it's about time I did this. Like, I know I should have been doing it, and I was just letting it slide. But it's to the point where I can no longer ignore it, so. Yeah. Well, now I've got everybody on the stream keeps me kind of honest. Like, we have a stretching. My alarm was turned off today, but we have a stretch break at like about 45 minutes into the stream, which helps a ton, actually. The one day I didn't do it, Thursday, I was seriously messed up afterwards. So stretching like every 45 minutes into my hour-and-a-half stream is really, really paying dividends. And stretching before I sit down is seriously much better too. So, all right, so we've lightened up all of that. Now, I did mention that we need to lighten up a few feathers up here. And we want to just kind of pick a little random assortment of them. Put some little bits of highlights here and there. Kind of keep, probably keep it where the feathers are a little bit lighter. And up here, these are just tiny little feathers, so you can just kind of do dabs or stippling. Just to bring some light up there. You probably want some light up here on the edge, too. I'm even kind of using the side of the brush a little bit to not dry brush, but to kind of dab color onto the raised areas. So that gives us a bit more variance, right, up on this upper part, which is what is on our reference photo. Yeah, I decided I would get up 15 minutes or 20 minutes earlier, Mike, and work in the morning routine. And if it helps my back feel better throughout the day, it's worth it in spades. So I put it out almost 4 weeks ago and I'm still having issues. So I know that now is the time. I can no longer ignore it. So here you notice I'm not being precise at all. I'm just like kind of messing it up. Just getting in little bits. As I get closer to the feathers that are sculpted sharply, I'll get more into doing more precision work. But when I'm up here where the feathers are really just tiny and they're just a texture, then I'm just going to kind of do a little bit, a touch here and there with my brush to bring up some highlights. And that gives us the kind of cloudy look that we see on Mr. Bird. That kind of cloudy look. He's even a little bit more picked out, but you know, kind of a clouded look in here. There we are. So our wings are looking like really almost like a pair now, guys. Yay! In fact, if I'm quick, I have 10 minutes to get the detail up here kind of brought up a little bit and a little bit more on these outward feathers. And then add my blue, which I've had mixed up. Actually, it needs a brush full of water because it's got that ring around the edge. My cyan blue. I can at least lay down the base coat before I go and do the light on the rest of the wing. And I need to put some pure black down because I definitely brought black down on this wing and these. So I need to darken down the area over here as well. There we go. So we'll at least do that. We'll grab some pure black. Grab that. Get that out. And we're going to put a little bit of blue in here, remember? To kind of continue our blue spots. Because the hawk has dark spots as well in nature, and our dark spots are going to be blue because of Sphinxy. I am going to leave a little bit of the black around the outer edges and concentrate the blue toward the middle here, more like a peacock's plume. Just because, why not? You can take liberties. Like I've mentioned before, but your reference photo is a starting off point. It's to make sure that if you want, you know, a leopard to look like a leopard, you can start like by making it look like a leopard, and you can see where the lighter and darker patches should be and roughly what the color should be. But then from there, with a fantasy critter, you can depart from that, right? Once you've got your basic leopardiness, or in this case, African harrier hawkness, dialed in, then you can start choosing little bits to diverge from for fantasy purposes, right? So for me, these little spots, he had spots on his wings, but they were just darker and lighter. But here, wherever I put black, I've decided I'm going to put blue because of Sphinxy's hair. That's how Sphinx's dark fur is going to be done, right? All of her black fur, when I get her tail tip in, when I finish this fur down here, it's going to be like her mane, right? Like her hair. So I decided that anywhere there was black, there was going to be blue. So that is how I am departing from a naturalistic paint scheme. So let's get up here and get at least the light bits mocked in on the upper part of the wings. And obviously you could spend a ton of time also hitting all the edges of these little tiny wings up here if you wanted to. Or you could just kind of depart and go more generalistic like I did on the other side to try to bring up some color. I'm leaving the darks pretty dark here. Mostly I'm trying to get that clouded, kind of clouded look pattern where there's dark areas and light areas, and I'm bringing up the highlights in the light areas more than I am the dark. And I'm trying to bring in touches of light where it makes sense, like all this area here. These feathers are tiny and they're indistinctly sculpted because they're so small. So we're just going to kind of bring in a little bit of light. And if you want to stop, and if you see a well-sculpted feather and you want to stop and pick out some edges, do so. There's no rule to this. Now we're going kind of impressionistic. This is the impressionistic part, where we've got kind of like just the hint of featheriness with very small overlaying feathers. And we want to just bring up parts. But again, whenever you want, if you want to stop and bring out edges, stop and bring out edges. Whatever makes sense to you, whatever looks good on your own wing. If you really like all the edging that I'm doing down below, keep doing it. Just keep in mind you'll probably have to fade it out as you get up into these very small feathers. You'll just have to hint at it. So we're just getting some of this light in around these edges. So that we've got very, very similar appearance. And we're looking pretty darn good, guys. We're looking pretty darn good. Pit. They are Sphinx wings. They are not bird wings. When you are painting detailed wings like this, where you want to get close and get all of these little feathers painted in, it is much, much, much easier to do it while they are flat and off the model. Especially because Sphinxy has the advantage of her wings pegging in very well. So you really don't even need, like, this sculpt fits together really, really well. I won't even need to putty this. Like, because I can't see, like, the joins. The joins are really good. Maybe a little bit of a gap here. So I might have to do that. But there we go. That is our glorious Sphinx. Now remember, her tail tip is also going to be dark and have some blue on it. And this fur here will also be highlighted like the mane. So if you look at it, what have we got? We've got, yes, it is bones. And it's 77576, sculpted by Julie Guthrie, also known as Green Users, who's actually in our chat. Yep, so I have to do the inside of the wings, but that's going to be a lot faster because they're mostly monochrome. They're mostly one color. Although the Harrier Hawk does have an interesting wing pattern on the inside also. But yeah, so that's how this looks right now. But what am I doing here? Look at this, guys. Accent color is blue, right? Accent color, accent color, accent color. There's 5 different areas, so it's odd. It'll be 6 once I've got this. But these areas pull your eye around the figure. So if you look at the blue here, then your eye's going to flash to the blue here, right? And then I might even have a blue gem in like this jewelry. So that's what you want to do with an accent color. You want it to be at various places all over the figure so that your eye will travel around it. And yeah, so we get to do, now we get to work on the interior wings. Ta-da! But yeah, let me get these guys turned over again and zoomed in on again. But yeah, she looks great with her wings. I'm very happy with them. They turned out really, really well. Let's see. I had a wing. African Harrier Hawk. And images. Yeah, so they actually have light and dark on the inside of their wings. They're really striking birds from either direction. So we're going to do this with our Sphinxy. So essentially, all of the outer row of feathers will be dark, and we'll probably do blue tips. And then the inner area is going to be our lighter color. So that's the way we're going to do these. And then it gets a little bit darker and lighter up here. So we'll do a little bit of variation shading with our, what we'll probably do is do the entire wing, except for the outer edge, in this light color. We'll shade with this color to keep it very, very light. And we'll actually go up almost to pure white for the highlights. And then we will, we won't even touch this stuff until we go to the outside, and then we'll darken it down toward black on the outer edge. So, yes, because humans like uneven numbers, apparently, or they're more interesting. Even numbers are more boring, and odd numbers are more interesting to the human eye. Which is funny because we also think symmetry is pleasing. So, what? We're weird. It's a psychological thing. But yeah, so we're spending a lot of time on wings lately, but only on this model. I mean, that's the nice thing about us doing a different model every day, right? So yeah, so that's what we're doing here. I've got my black paint. I'm going to at least black in some of this. And actually, maybe I'll do the dark on the inside as well. So I thinned down my black because I don't want like a super solid black, but I want that. And I've been highlighting the black, at least on the outside edges, with a little bit of blue and white. Again, to go with the Sphinxy color scheme. So this tip of this feather is going to be all black. Boom. Boom. And this isn't something I necessarily planned. I originally knew I was going to go dark, but I didn't think about going pure black until I looked at it and was like, you know what? That's going to work better if I just go black. And then I'm going to maybe suggest just a little bit of black up here toward the center of the quill and toward the blue. Since this brown is so dark already, it's easy to blend in some suggested black shadows. And I decided I wanted to bring this wing a little bit. Pretty much I decided I wanted the tips to go out toward dark. So I'm kind of adding that in at this point. If I decide to do more blue. Which is also a departure from our Harrier Hawk. But, like I said, once you have your basics down, once you have your basic, hey, this actually looks like a wing, a real wing, feel free to throw in interesting colors or to accentuate your patterns more, to make them more striking. Because then, you've got your naturalism already, now you can push it. But starting with a natural pattern is a very good idea on wings. That way your wings look like they should. Alrighty. So that, we've got our darks kind of blocked in, at least up to, at least 4 feathers. 4 feathers worth of dark. I need to figure out if I'm going to make all of this dark. I probably should, because it's going to be dark on the other side. And I'm not going to worry about, I mean, I'm going pretty much black and just going black overlapping right now. I'm going to bring out the edges on these guys, but not till I have some blue to do it with. So I'll do these guys a little bit. Not all of them may have the arrow, the little chevron, but I may do the kind of the blue-white highlight that I did on this one. I may do that on all of these, just to tie them together. So we have completed the outside of our wings for the most part, guys. And what I'll probably do is put off doing that blue-white highlight on the outside until I'm ready to do it on the inside, and then we'll just do it all over the place. All right, it is 11:03, which means it is time to start looking for a raid. I hope you all had fun today. And look, our Sphinx has wings. I'm like super pleased with these. I still feel like I need a little bit more highlighting here. There's still touches, right? And again, I often finish things to what I call a soft finish, which is, it looks really good. I'm happy with it. It might need a little bit more pop on the contrast, or it might need a little bit more highlighting, but I'll let it go so that I can get other things done at this point. And then I typically do a pass toward the end. When everything is put together, I'll do one final pass and do some adjustments based on how the rest of the model looks. There we are. There we go. So yeah, all we need to do is bring up the blue, white, both on this chevron, on the edges of the black feathers, and on these little dots. This is our Sphinxy. Let's put her wings on. One more time. One more time, Sphinxy. Oh, we're going to be rating Just Isis, but we're going to get one more Sphinx shot before you hit the button, Justin. One more. One more Sphinx shot. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da. She looks so pretty. Doesn't she look pretty? All right, I'm so happy. Cyan blue, yep, 9117. All right, guys, say hi to Dices for us. Come back and see us tomorrow morning. We're going to be working on Dancing Girl. We're getting really close to done with Dancing Girl. So yeah, exciting. I'll see you all later, all right? You have a great day. Remember to stretch. Bye-bye.